Hello and welcome to Build Your Personal Brand Online in partnership with Wenta. Welcome to Google Digital Garage, where we're here to talk about providing you with free digital skills as part of Google Digital Garage's training program, and also to talk to you today about how you go about building your personal brand online. My name is Anthea. I'm one of the Google Digital Garage trainers, and I am not alone here today. I will be taking you through today's webinar, but I'm also joined by Sarah, who is in the chat today as moderator. Sarah will be answering some questions that you have, any comments, or anything you just want to discuss in line with what you've seen on today's webinar. Please do feel free to have those chats inside the YouTube chat. Now, just be aware, if you don't see the chat option available, it's possibly because you don't have a YouTube account or are not currently signed in. So please sign into your YouTube account and the chat will become available. And if you don't currently have an account, use the button within the chat to set up an account, and it takes you just a few moments and allows you to dive straight back in to the conversation. So we'll be going through this over the next hour. And again, just make sure that you are, asking any questions that you've got, putting any comments in there and sharing, as other people who may not be able to engage in the chat will also still benefit. So just some additional housekeeping before we get going. Please be aware that if you're having any issues with viewing this video or maybe even hearing me at any point throughout today's webinar, it could mean that your screen just needs to be refreshed. So hit your refresh button, which is usually an F5, and that should reload the page and normally resolves the majority of issues. Again, I've mentioned about joining the instant chat, and this is useful because we will be having points at which we pause for questions. So any questions that Sarah may not have answered or may feel that are beneficial for everybody who is watching to hear the answer, those will be passed on to me so that when we pause for these questions, I can deal with any of those as we go along. But don't wait for that moment. Please just drop your questions into the chat as soon as they come to mind, and we'll collate them and deal with them as we go along. So just know we are running this particular webinar in partnership with Wenta. Google Digital Garage also offer a number of virtual training sessions ranging from 15 minutes to 1 hour on a variety of subjects, from social media, creating YouTube, building a CV, or even creating a digital marketing strategy. So if there's other things that you're also interested in for yourself, or maybe for the business or an organization that you're working for, please do go to visit our website. There is a link below, but one will be dropped into the chat for you so that you can view our upcoming webinars and also join those as well. Now, I think that's enough in terms of housekeeping, so let's get started. And just before I jump in to let you know how we're going to structure today's webinar, just want to give out a few hellos. We've got Ikra in the chat, hello and welcome. We've got GB, also hello, lovely to see you and thanks for joining. We've also got Blessing, and we are also glad that you've joined this webinar too. So thank you for engaging with us so far. We've got a busy session today, so please keep the chat going. Please keep the questions coming. Keep Sarah busy, and we'll get to your questions when we pause as we go through. Now, this particular webinar is broken down into 3 sections, and this is how we're going to help you today. The first is we're going to help you to understand what your online presence is and also what your personal brand is. We'll then look at how you go about building your personal brand online, and then look at some tools or ways in which you can increase your online visibility. So this could include things like growing a network, posting relevant content, and turning online connections into offline opportunities. But first, we'll start off by understanding your online presence and your personal brand. Now, I did mention that for some of you, you may be working for an organization. So if you are based in the UK and you work for a small business or maybe even a charity, please be aware that we do have free one-to-one Google mentoring available. Now, what happens is by signing up, and a link will be posted in the chat, you will get access to one of the Google Digital Garage trainers who will have a 1-hour virtual session with you via Google Meet, and will be able to understand what your current challenges are, what it is you are currently trying to deal with at the moment, and provide you with some advice as well as some resources that will help you to take that next step in your business. So again, if you're based in the UK, you work for a small organization, or you run the organization yourself, or you also have a charity, please do sign up for these. These are invaluable because they are very specific to your business rather than generic. So let's understand your personal brand and also your online presence. So let me just ask you, bear with me 1 second. Let me just ask you, do you have any particular brands that you buy regularly? If you do, just pop some of those in the chat. Think about why you buy those brands over other brands. Again, let us know in the chat. And then also think about what do you believe defines a brand? So I've mentioned here, and this whole session today is about building your personal brand online. So what is a brand? What do you think a brand is? Let us know in the chat what you think in terms of any brands that you have or buy regularly, why you buy from that particular brand, and what you believe defines a brand. Now, from our perspective, we have, a brand is a type of product that's usually manufactured by a particular company under a particular name. Right? That's the typical definition if you look in the dictionary. But actually, it's more than that. A brand is about how the products or even services are the same, but also how they stand out from each other. When you think of a burger, what's one of the first things that you think of? Possibly McDonald's, because they've created a brand that makes you associate a product with their organization, and also how they stand out from other organizations that also offer similar products and services. So think about your online presence. Now, your online presence, now take a guess again. What do you think that the online presence includes? We've got a couple in the chat talking about a brand represents good quality. A brand such as Apple having good quality, reliability, and innovation. So thank you for those posts. So these immediately you have a product or an organization, and then you also have some words or some things that you relate to that, which is why you keep going back. Now, let's kind of take a very just small shift here and start thinking about your online presence. So what do you think an online presence is? And let us know if you have a social media profile, and also why you have a social media profile. Social media is available. It's just one way that you might connect with the world, but it's not the only way. So when you make a decision to have a social media account, what's the driver behind that? What's the reason that you really want to have social media? So this is one of the reasons why, again, people generally tend to build a personal brand, because they access things like social media to communicate that brand and engage with potential customers and clients. So again, thanks for joining in the conversation. Keep that coming and we'll continue to move forward. Now, your online presence, it includes a variety of different things. Now, you may have done the work of developing your personal brand already. You may be at the beginning. You may have heard the term personal brand thrown around, and you want to just understand a little bit more about what it means for you and the business you're already building. But your online presence isn't actually limited to a singular location, but it does include a lot of results that are not just your social media profile. So, for example, if you went into Google and searched for your business or your name, warning, you may be a bit shocked about how many results are actually on the internet based on your name or your business, right? But it's good to understand what information is currently online about you, because these are the things that indicate the presence that you have online. Now, your digital footprint is about everything that you do in line. If you imagine walking along the beach, every step that you take will leave a print in the sand. And it's exactly the same way when you're online. You constantly are, leaving a footprint whenever you're doing something online. And this can relate to your internet activity, things that you're doing that are public. So let's start to look at this, the content that's created by you. So whenever you create or you capture photos, maybe you're on social media and you create a reel or a status, maybe you put videos on YouTube, you put music on SoundCloud, any content that you've created, that you own, that you put up on an account that's linked to you is part of your online presence. It's something that's made public, it's online and it's available and people can see it. It's also to do with the things that you're tagged in. So think about how many times you've been out with friends, or maybe you've gone to a personal or even a professional event and someone has tagged you in that particular image or video. Now you are automatically now linked to that image. Although you don't own the image, or you may not even be able to edit it, but because you've been tagged, it means you are now associated to it. So it could be an article, it could be a photo, a video, or even a comment. So it's always really good to check anytime that you have been tagged in something to make sure that you are aligned to the post that has been posted. Because if it has very different views from what you believe in, there becomes a conflict, and people starting to understand your brand may not see that that aligns. So it's really good to kind of think about, what's out there, what you're linked to, and what does that say about you and also your organization. So think about a time when maybe, you were tagged in something that you really didn't appreciate. What did that do for you? Were you able to stop it? What lengths did you have to go to get your name or your association detached from that post? So we want to get to a point where we avoid doing that in the first place. So we can do that by clearing up your online presence. Now, this can sometimes take a while, but it's definitely something that's necessary. So take the time to review your wider online presence to make sure that your digital footprint reflects the best of you. Now, one of the quickest wins is to go back to the content that shows up in the first 2 pages of when you run a search. Because most people, when they run a search, they look for the first page and sometimes the second page, but it's very rare, unless they're looking for something very specific, that they go too far in terms of search results. So that's a very quick way. Click on every single one of those links once you do your search. Are you happy being associated to this content? If not, what can you do? Maybe you can review your privacy settings. Maybe you can change what other people are allowed to see. Things that were previously public, you may want to now make private. Things that you were tagged in, you may want to detag yourself. And you may want to just delete profiles on platforms that you don't even use anymore. Think about it from a perspective of how people access your information in order to make decisions about you. And I think we'll get to this later, but just think about, you might have a picture of something that you did 15, 20 years ago, and you're now in a completely different place and now in a completely different space going for a CEO position. Will that article, will that photo, will that tag potentially be to the detriment of what you're trying to achieve now? So if you don't need it, don't worry, delete it, because you're a different version of yourself, and there are ways that you can actually, build a better representation of yourself through your personal brand. So there's also some additional tools that can help you to clean, monitor, and privatize your browsing experience. So there is one called Google Alerts. Now, this is useful because you can get Google to send you an email or alert you every time a particular phrase or something comes up. So if, for example, you put your name as the alert, anytime something was posted where your full name was included, you'd be alerted to it. That helps you to keep track of anything that you're mentioned in, about any news, products, or emails, or any updates. So it doesn't have to be your name, but it's just things that you might find useful. There is also another tool called Social Mention, and this is used as a kind of social media search tool that looks at user content from across the internet and puts it into a single stream of information. So this monitors and allows you to track and measure what people are saying about you or your brand anywhere in the world in real time. So this is great because it helps you get ahead of things. Maybe you've been tagged in something that was controversial and doesn't align to your brand. You get the social media mention. You can go straight there, detag yourself, delete the post, report it as spam, whatever you need to do. But it just mitigates the amount of damage or limits the amount of reputational damage as well. So when does your online presence become a personal brand? So start to think about this. When does your online presence start to become a personal brand? And really, it's about when you start to create content that serves a common goal. So let's have a look at this. The personal brand identifies who you are and how you differentiate yourself from your peers. So it's very much specific to you, whereas your online presence is more about what trail you have left behind, and the trail that you've left behind, or the footprint that you've left behind, may not be something that you have created. So your personal brand is definitely a lot more personal. It's something you create, and you get to control the narrative around what you put out because it's how you represent yourself. Strong personal brands also allowed you to build your career or even your business off of what you've done before. So if you think about maybe some celebrities or well-known personalities and how you might describe their personal brand, if you're able to describe it, then it means that they've done a great job at creating a personal brand. And we've had this in the chat already. We had Vistara, who mentioned Apple having quality, reliability, and innovation. They've developed that brand so that those three brand words are now associated with it. So that's what that's all about. So think about someone like Oprah. She's a talk show host, she's an actress, and she's an owner of her own production company. So her opinion carries a lot of weight. That if she likes a book, or she likes a movie, or she likes a person, those things generally tend to get a lot more traffic and interest. And even someone like the Dalai Lama, despite living in exile, he's managed to be an inspirational figure worldwide. And a lot of the quotes that the Dalai Lama has are used for others to motivate and inspire their audiences. So you can see how, building a personal brand and being consistent and true to yourself and how you want to show up allows you to really, communicate to your audience who you are and how you want to differentiate yourself with others. So online brands can create opportunities in real life. So on the left-hand side, we have Sarah Ritchie. Now, she actually trained as a professional health and wellness coach in 2010. And so as part of that, she started vlogging, videos, workouts online. And now she actually gets paid by fitness brands to wear their clothing because she's generated a following and people generally see her as an influencer. It means that they're likely to buy whatever she puts her name behind. So again, this is what personal brands can do. They can influence others in terms of buying and selling products and services. On the right, we have Sheena Maui. Now, she initially started a blog in 2016 to collate all of the food images that she was posting on her social media page. Now, after setting up the blog, it quickly grew interest, and she started to have people asking a lot of questions. And, she was creating content based on recommendations. So now she regularly receives invites from local restaurants to try their food in return for a review on her blog. So, your personal brand can create opportunities offline in the real world. So don't feel that just by doing things online, you're limiting your ability to do things offline. Now, your online personal brand matters. 69% of employees conduct social media checks. Think about that for a second. I mentioned before, you might go for a job as a CEO. Now, think about what you might have done at university, what you may have done as a child. Now, if someone has posted photos of maybe a drunken night out or doing something like that, imagine what would happen if 69% of the jobs that you went for, they ran a search for you and they came across some old photos. Maybe something you did, maybe something you said, which no longer aligns to who you are now. But the fact is your online presence impacts your personal brand. If they don't align, there is conflict there, it can make people confused about who you say you are. Now, 89% of consumers aged 33 to 54 trust online reviews as much as personal recommendations. So going back to that example of Oprah, if somebody who is influential, or there is a social media review, so again, if you've got a business, make sure you have a Google business profile, because that's a place that you can connect reviews. And if you have positive reviews, then you also have an opportunity for other people who are potentially interested in your products and services to see those reviews. And that can be one of the reasons why they choose to work with you or your business, because it comes across as like a personal recommendation. So think about it. You wouldn't necessarily just jump into a relationship. You'd want to learn about the person first. You'd want to maybe see what they do in the world, if anyone knows of them, what other people think of them before you make a decision. And it's very much the same in business and about your personal brand. So a goal gives a brand a purpose, and it's important for you to have a goal when you think about developing your personal brand. So think about this particular slide and let me know, what is the goal of these personal trainers? A, B, and C. What is the goal of each of these personal trainers? So let's look at some of these examples. We have in A, the goal here is satisfaction. It's very much results driven. They want to use social endorsements and hardcore workouts to show that they get results. So this is really about finding an audience who look for authentic social endorsements, that they're looking for someone who can demonstrate that they can do exactly what they say they can do, and that they've got good reach and also popularity. Now for B, their focus is on quality. They want to use a very professional looking website and promote a variety of services that show that they give good quality. They have more than one service, and they have very clearly shown what other clients are talking about or say about their business. And then for C, we're talking about building credibility. That's the goal of this particular personal trainer. So that means they're relatable. This particular person is showing photos of them enjoying themselves. So I can still enjoy myself and I can lose weight. I can still enjoy myself and have a fun lifestyle, have a relationship, not, say no to so many things, and have great health. So that shows how they will motivate you, but probably not as intensely as a typical personal trainer. So let me know in the chat, which of these do you find more appealing? If you were looking to get healthier, which of these would you find more appealing? A, B, or C, because based on satisfaction, quality, or credibility? Let us know in the chat. Okay, so adding a goal to your profile will definitely make a difference. And you can see here on this LinkedIn profile, on the left-hand side, you can see Fatima. Again, this is a fictitious account, but the idea here is just to say that on the left-hand side, you may have somebody who just says, this is who I am, and that's it. However, if you have a goal, even for your profile, you can completely transform your profile by setting yourself apart. So how is she showing that she differentiates herself? By showing that she's a thought leader. Through changing her copy and also her activity, she's open to connecting with recruiters. It's been tailored towards potential clients, potential recruiters. She's used powerful language. She's set clearly out her expertise. She's also linking relevant content that shows that she's, can demonstrate her expertise. And that's going to be really appealing to potential clients and also potential recruiters who might be wanting to search for her. And because she's marked herself as open to opportunities, it means that she'll start to appear in in searches when recruiters are trying to recruit people for the jobs that they've got. So again, you can see how such a very small tweak will allow you to really transform your profile and showcase your brand. This is who I am, this is what I can do, and this is what I stand for. So thanks so much for joining in that last activity. Sarah's saying that brand C is clearly a winner. You need somebody who's going to motivate and inspire you, but let you know that you can still enjoy life and achieve the kind of health that you want without, leaving blood, sweat, and tears on the gym floor. So thank you for that. And we're just about to pause for questions. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, so we've had one question about personal brand. Now, the question is, what about Elon Musk's personal brand? Is it damaging? And the answer is, I don't know, because it depends on what people perceive him to do. Now, he's somebody who wants to essentially go to the moon. He wants to create something that's more sustainable, that we can have life. And these are, pretty much positive things. He wants to create better quality of life for us. How he goes about that is possibly in line with his personal brand, but it's whether or not these align to your core values. So when you think about how we talked about in that last exercise, who is your target audience? Somebody has a personal brand and they have a target audience. Now, the way in which that audience engages with that brand means that they're probably aligned in terms of values. So if something that a person does is not aligned to you, it means that you probably don't share the same values. So you're likely to find that in certain circumstances, certain things you will find damaging to them. Now, whatever people do believe to be damaging, remember that they probably also have a team to mitigate or limit the amount of damage that maybe an article, a decision, or a photo can do to get them back on track. So there's also, it's a great question, and it's also very subjective because it depends. The question would be, does his audience find his brand damaging? Because there are people who are not his audience that will have opinions about the matter. Okay, so Lisa S is saying, what if someone or a business has the same or similar name to you and throws up lots of horrid search content? Do you hope the searcher will take the time to differentiate? Well, I guess that's quite a tricky one, because yes, if it is a similar name, it can be quite easy for you to be mistaken for them. So the question is, what can you do rather than relying on the person who's searching or the other business who's using a similar name? What can you do to differentiate yourself? Maybe instead of just having your business name as the title for your homepage, which is normally what appears in the search, think about a tagline that you can include in that, which clearly differentiates you from someone else. Maybe add something that speaks to the products or services that you offer. So again, clearly differentiates between you and someone else. Maybe you can start by adding the location. Again, if this other business is in somewhere else, it helps to differentiate between yourself. If you are the founder, maybe you add your name to it. So again, when someone's searching for you or the business, the relevance of your particular search result will become a higher ranking, because now they're associating you to the business. So again, there's many, many different ways that you can approach this, but I bring that question back to you and say, what can you do? Because you can't control the other businesses, and you can't rely on people who are searching to take the time to research the businesses and figure out which one is true. So I'd leave that there. Okay, so we'll move on. Doesn't look like we have any other questions. So now let's look at building your personal brand online. So again, if you've got questions, please do drop them into the chat, and we'll pick those up as we go through. So to build our brand, we're going to start with a very clear goal. Figure out the target audience and put together a content plan. So in other words, what is it you want to achieve? Who do you need to engage with in order to achieve it? And what are you sharing with those people to get them interested in your brand? So first is to decide your goal. Now, this is going to be very different for you. There are a lot of people who are joining this webinar today, which we welcome you and are grateful for you joining, but each of you are likely to have a different answer. So what is your current goal for building your personal brand? It needs to be something that you can actually track. So bear that in mind when you're considering your goal, so that you can measure success. So it could be the number of job opportunities. You want to find new job opportunities. You can track that based on the number that you get. It could be that you want to have more followers, and it could be that you want to find new clients. So whatever your goal is, start with that and make sure it's something that can be tracked. So here's a way that you can define your goal. So want you to complete this sentence in the chat today. I want to present myself online because I want to. Okay, so think about that. For example, I want to present myself online like a thought leader because I want to apply for leadership positions. That's one example. Okay, so think about how you want to present yourself online and what the aim of that is going to help you achieve. And again, this is where you start to think about your metrics for success and also how you can ensure that you are putting the steps in place in order for you to achieve it. So the next part of that is I will know I have been successful when. So I want to present myself online like a thought leader because I want to get a leadership position. I will know I have been successful when I receive 3 job interviews for leadership positions. Okay, so this is a very clear goal with a very clear way of tracking your success. I have not been successful if I don't have 3 job interviews for leadership positions, right? So start to think about that, what your goal for your personal brand is, and what your measurement for success will also be. So this may take some time, but the more detail that you have, the better, because it helps you to get really, really clear on your goal. So remember that your goal needs to be as specific as possible. So ask yourself, in what? So if I want to find new job opportunities, in what and maybe where? I want to find more followers of oboe enthusiasts. That's very specific. Maybe you want to find new clients, but maybe if you offer 6 different services, you have to be more specific. So I want to find new clients to buy my pottery aprons. So another example here is I would like to get more followers of my digital marketing LinkedIn account through publishing social media best practice to small businesses with no social media presence. That's a goal. And you know that you have been successful when you get more followers. So next thing to do is build out your target audience. And pretty much most of the sessions that we run, we always tell you about your social media presence. Simply because, your target audience, simply because without knowing who it is you're targeting, the content that you put together is going to miss the mark. So we've got a couple of options here. Sorry, things just coming into the chat. I want to present myself online as a human resource management professional because I want to help in the recruitment process and employ qualified candidates for a specific job role. That's absolutely brilliant, Blessing. One thing I would just suggest that you add to that is how can you measure that you've been successful in that area? How can you measure that you've been successful? Okay, so when you're still talking about your target audience, who do I need to reach to make my goal come true? So think about it. Your goal should signpost a group that you need to target. It could be jobs, so therefore you'll target recruiters. It could be personal trainers, so you want to have clients. So who is it you need to reach? Who are they? And you can break that down by looking out at what we would normally call a user persona. So the more that you know about somebody or your group of people, the easier it is to find them, to reach them, and also to engage them. So the more detailed your understanding of your audience, the more relevant and engaging that your brand can be. So again, if you, like in the last example, want to build a community of oboe enthusiasts, your target audience are going to start with people who play the oboe, maybe people who are interested in classical music, and people who maybe visit classical music shows or orchestras. So you can start to then research about the classical music industry to find out more on who would be interested in oboes. So you see how as soon as you start to understand more about people, what they're interested in, you can then go and do further research to help you find out more. So what's their age? What's their gender? Where do they tend to be based? What kinds of accounts do they tend to have? So remember, these aren't places I want to go. This is more about where they hang out. So you may not like some of the social media platforms or places online or offline that they go to, but that's where they're going to be. Think about some of their likes, their dislikes. What do they read? What do they care about? And what do they generally tend to spend their money on? So think about all of these things and how the answers to these questions are going to impact the platform that you choose and also the type of content that you share. So here are some tools that you can use to find your target audience. So, if you already have a social media presence on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn, for example, there are actually quite a lot of tools and insights that you can access in order to find out who's already engaging with you, who's visiting your page, who's following you, who's, commenting on your posts. But there are some other tools that exist on other social media platforms. But, sometimes you just need to start with something. So we just want to give you a few of the commonly used business tools and that people individually use in order to understand their target audience. So some of these links will be dropped into the chat, so don't worry too much about that right now. Now, the first one is Audience Finder. Now, this is a great app because it's a good starting point as it allows you to get UK-based analytics on essentially the UK cultural landscape. So it's useful if you're hoping to run events through your brand, but ultimately it's just a way of you searching for an audience based on things that your brand offers, i.e., if these are the things that I offer, who would be my audience? And you get to learn a bit more detail about some of the things that we looked at in the user persona. Instagram for business, so social media business profiles. You've got Instagram for business. LinkedIn, you've got company pages. On Facebook, you've also got business pages as well. So you all have the ability to create business pages. And for Instagram, you can either create a business account or convert your personal account into a business account. And what that does is it allows you to then start gaining the analytics that sits behind that. And you can start to look at the demographics, such as, the age, the location, those kind of things, the gender. Those things generally are typical for some of the insights that you get from your profiles. So again, you can also look at the hashtags or use hashtags to build a community of people who are looking for specific things. So if you offer a particular service, then, and you've got a hashtag that links to that and people are using that hashtag, it allows you to find other content that's been posted and also see what kind of comments that those audiences are commenting on there to give you ideas for your content. You've also got page insights. So again, similar to what I've just discussed, once you've converted those pages, page insights on Facebook is free to everyone who's got a Facebook page, and allows you to access analytics about who's been visiting, what they've been doing, and give you some of that demographic data. And then lastly, you have people search. So on LinkedIn, this is a very powerful people search tool because it helps you to look for people who are based on a particular age, location, company, maybe job title, or even skills. And so once you start to identify people, you can start connecting with them, add them to your network, or maybe even follow them. And this is useful because then you start to see how small your network really is. Because once people come up, it indicates if they are first, second, or third level, which means they know somebody in your network. And that's always a good way to get an introduction, maybe to somebody who works for an organization that you would like to do business with. So just start to think about how you can use some of these options to find out more about your target audience. Now, there are some specialist platforms that can save you a bit of time and effort. So think about which platforms you would use to meet these particular goals. So have a look on screen. The goal is to meet fellow writers, to sell homemade jewelry, and to find building contracts. So which platforms would you think that these goals can be achieved on? Now, the rule of thumb really is to choose the platform where your audience is most engaged. And I mentioned this already. Don't go where you like to go. Go where you know that you're likely to find your audience. But a good shortcut would be to check if there is a specialist platform that you can promote yourself on. So if you're looking to meet fellow writers, your audience are writers who want to meet up, then maybe you can go to a place like meetup.com. People generally are on there to find places that they can go to where people have similar interests, right? So meet fellow writers. Maybe you'll go onto Meetup. You could also go onto LinkedIn. They have groups and pages. Same with even Facebook. There are groups of people who have an interest and you can go there to use. So there are 3 platforms you can use already. Maybe you sell homemade jewelry and you're looking for people who want to buy homemade jewelry. Where would that be the best place for that? It could be Etsy, maybe even eBay, or there's other ones like Not on the High Street or even Facebook Marketplace. Now that Instagram allows you to sell products through that, that's also another opportunity for you to do that. And again, if you wanted to keep that offline, you could go to markets, you could go to boot sales and sell there as well. So it doesn't always have to be online, but if you're looking at online, you definitely have a few platforms. And if you're looking to find building contracts, you need people who need building work done. You can find things like people per hour. You can go on Checker Trade if you're in the UK. You can even sometimes go on places like LinkedIn. There are places that freelancer.com. It really depends on where you want to position yourself, but all of those are places where you are likely to find people who have a similar interest and therefore are your target audience. So let's think about, so just had a comment coming, and I would check the LinkedIn platform as they have training on there. I would recommend checking the supports for every social site that you use. Very, very good response from Sarah to Blessing. Again, using these platforms, they're all there. How you choose to use them, completely up to you. But the main thing is to make sure that your audience is on there. So just for a moment, have a look at this slide and let us know which 3 words would you use to represent your brand personality? Which 3 words would you use to represent your brand personality? If you can't find one on the list, that's absolutely fine. Create one. But this is really important because what you do is you start operating through the lens of these words. Every bit of content that you create, does it align to this or no? Okay, so let us know in the chat which 3 words from this slide would you use to describe your personal brand? So the next step in that is to create a handle and a biography. So your online brand can also link to the handle that you use. So you want to make sure that the handle that you have is something that's clear for other people to see. It's unique and it's easy to remember and preferably doesn't have numbers. The main thing is if you have to say it to somebody or if you have to spell it, then it's going to be easy for somebody to be able to find you. Your profile biography is a summary of your brand and sits beneath your handle. So you want to make sure that that clearly represents who you are. So it should summarize what you offer, your expertise, and also what you want your audience to do. So on screen, very clear example here, Fatima_Allen, a customer service manager from Manchester who's interested in content marketing opportunities, Open University graduate in English literature, regular contributor to BuzzFeed and HuffPost community, and wants you to email her with new ideas or opportunities. So it's a short bio, but it gives a very clear indication about what you want your people to do. And that's all it is. So make sure that people are able to see clearly who you are, what you do, and what you offer, and what you want them to do. And what that does is it gets them to be excited about you. Now, in a moment, you're going to probably write your own bio, right? You may not finish today. That's absolutely fine. Just think about what you can do, continuing this work after today's webinar. But think about your offer, think about your expertise, and think about your call to action. These are 3 things that you need to incorporate when you build your bio. Now, remember that the call of action is the thing that you want people to do. So for Fatima, it was to email her with ideas or opportunities. So what's the offer? She's a customer service manager interested in content marketing, right? That's what she's offering. What's her expertise? Well, she's a graduate in English literature. That means she can write. She's a regular contributor to BuzzFeed and HuffPost. So she's already writing to well-known communities, right? So she has expertise in that area and she wants you to email her. So remember that content consistency builds trust. Now, one of the things just to mention here is that when you start to think about what content that you want to put out, don't immediately think you need to do this every single day, 3 times a day. You don't. You start with the number of times you know that you can commit to being consistent with. If it's once a week, absolutely fine. If it's, twice a week, absolutely fine. Just do whatever you know that you can be consistent in. And remember that your bio is the first thing that people are going to see. So everything, all of the content that you then create needs to showcase or support your bio. So here are 3 examples. Now, please tell me, can you guess which each of these businesses are based on the handles that they've got? So look at the image and then look at the handle and tell me, can you clearly see which each of these are? Your profile picture should match your handle. So if you're speaking about something, make sure that it relates to your handle as well. So in the first image, you can clearly see that there's a picture of food and the handle is That Health Doctor. Immediately we get that. On the far right side, we've got a picture of dough being kneaded into bread. And that the handle is John_bread maker. Right? So we know that this is somebody who makes bread. Fine. Now the middle one, there's a picture of a man playing a guitar and the handle is I love cakes. So what is that about? Is it about music or is it about cakes? If your audience is confused, they're likely to move on. So make sure that you are very clear with your imagery and your text and make sure that those 2 things speak to each other and are the same. So here's an example from Sheena Maui, who we met earlier, with regards to the food blogging that she does. So this is an influencer who's got a very clear photo. She's got a handle. It's about her. She is the brand, so that's absolutely fine. And beneath her image, she's got details about what she does. She's got links to other things and clear call to action, which shows that she wants you to get her book. She also has images in the top part of her feed which relate to what she says she does. So you can very clearly see that she is exactly who she says she is. Now, this is your turn. I want you to create a handle and a biography. So we'll just break this down into 3 steps. Again, this is something that you may not get time for today, but please do continue this after today. And remember that the link for today's webinar will be available for the next 24 hours. So do come back and pause at this section if you want to go over it again. Now, the first step is to look at what skills, strengths, and experience you want to highlight. Now, this is especially important for people who are transitioning between careers. Maybe you've got a complete background in one thing and you want to try something new. That's absolutely fine, but you need to pull out the skills, the strengths and experience that align to the thing that you now want to do or offer your audience. Okay, so you don't have to speak about everything that you've done, but speak about the things that align to what you're trying to do now. Step 2, what does your target audience want to hear? Think about them. Think about their problems. Think about what challenges they face. Think about why you working with them in any capacity is going to benefit them. Okay? Think about that and speak from that place. This is not your opportunity to say, this is what I offer, come and buy what I want. I want you to buy. This is about, I understand you. I understand what you're dealing with, and this is how I would like to help. What do they want? Do they want to be inspired? Do they want to be educated? What is it that they want? And then the third step is just set a timer for 4 minutes and just get writing, because otherwise you'll be there for hours and still feel that it's imperfect. So version 1, 4 minutes, get it done, and then review it. Are you happy with that? Does it align to your brand? Does it communicate who you want to show up as? If so, excellent. If not, another 4 minutes and then move on. Okay, so this is a really great way to create a handle and a biography that you can start updating your social media profiles with now. Okay, so we've just stopped for questions. We've got a few comments for brand words. So Ikra has said user-friendly, innovative, clever. Carl G. Morris has said distinguished, user-friendly. Adi has said hardworking, reliable, humble. And Lisa said warm, authentic, and reliable. Brilliant. Love those brand words. So make sure that you're using them in everything that you're putting out. Does what I'm about to post, does what I'm about to say align to those 3 brand words? If not, your content needs a rethink. But it's a really good way to keep you on track. Okay, so we've got one question from Ikra. Are there any disadvantages to converting your personal Instagram into a business account? There aren't any. I wouldn't say so. In terms of disadvantages, I think it depends what you were using your personal account for. So if you've got a personal account and it's full of, personal images of you and your life, things you're interested in, maybe shows that you've been to, and all of that, and they're maybe you've got a private account. Your business account is public. So the question is, do you want people to be able to see the history of what you've previously posted? If the answer is no, then you're better off creating a new business account. If the business that you're now in is not lifestyle focused, so people don't necessarily need to see what you're doing behind closed doors, behind the scenes, what your family life is like, etc. Again, probably not a great idea to convert. But if it's just a natural progression, then that's absolutely fine. Absolutely fine to convert it. So just think about what your personal account was used for, and then what your business account is used for, and again, do those things align? Okay, so let's move on to the last section where we look at how you can increase your visibility online. So the idea here is to get more visible. This is about increasing your chances of people being able to find you. So remember that if you're looking to be in a career, recruiters are always searching for people on LinkedIn. So you want to make sure that you become someone who appears in those searches. They use a tool called Recruiter, which allows them to search by job title, location, and skills. So make sure that your profile has your job title, location, and skill set displayed. Right? Same thing for Facebook and Instagram. Make sure that you're using information, or you're speaking to your skill set, your experience, your location, so that anyone who is searching for you can quite easily find you. So complete your profile on whatever platform that you're on. Give and request recommendations. So if it's LinkedIn, go back to people that you've worked with previously and make sure that you are asking them for recommendations, and also link yourself to other profiles. Grow your network, right? Your network needs to be grown. The more you grow your network, the more your content can sit on other people's accounts also. So think about the content that you're posting. Is it unique? Is it high quality, right? You can use other people's content, user-generated content. You can use Google Alerts to alert yourself of something that's related to your industry, and you can reshare those articles as part of your content. Use it as a way to connect with your audience. How much are you speaking to them? How much are you engaging with them? Be consistent. As I said, be consistent. Maybe you just do a Monday post. Maybe you do a Thursday post. Carve out the time, but whatever you are doing, make sure that you're doing it consistently and posting regularly. Give yourself something, or give your followers something that they can come to you to look for. Maybe you give a thought of a day. Maybe you give the latest information about some complex thing that's happening in the industry, so people can now start to see you and set you apart from other brands. Think about commenting, liking, and reacting to other pages and posts. So there might be other accounts who share similar thoughts to you. That's fine. Jump into the comments. Give your own perspective so people who are watching or following them can also see and that you are setting yourself out as a thought leader. Comment on other posts, comment on other pages, like and follow, so you get an idea about also what other kind of content is out there, as well, and how maybe you might be able to use that as well. Be visual. Use images and videos, break it up. Don't just be so text focused, and use as many networking tools as you can to connect. So reach out, find, there's also another app called BuzzSumo, which ranks content and people by the amount of retweets and shares in networks. So think about how you can use certain things like that. There's another one called Pocket, which lets you add a topic from your browser or content apps to read later. So these are just ways that you can connect with people, share thoughts, and get engagement. So think about how you can use your online network to find new opportunities. Again, remember, the more you build a following, the more you are connecting with other people. When people are looking for a job, those job posts then become present on your feed. And so then if you're looking for a job, you start to get access to jobs that you would have not been able to see without having that network. So building trust, companionship, connection is what helps you to find more opportunities. So make sure that you're also creating shareable content for your brand. Again, doesn't have to be your own, but think about something that you would share and recreate that for your own business. Add imagery wherever possible. And you can see on here that images on Twitter that are included with updates generally tend to get 150% more retweets. Photos of people's faces where it's being humanized get 38% more likes. And live videos get 3 times more views than traditional videos. So the more people you can be visual, the more you're likely to get people following you. And make sure that you're consistent in your look and also the feel. So you're using the same colors, you're using the same structure, maybe aerial photos, head-on photos, whatever it is. Just make sure that you are being consistent so that people can start to see how you post your content and link it to your brand. So here are a few different interactive media that you can use. Polls, great on Twitter. Ask questions, engage with your audience, get them to give you answers and get them involved. Tell stories. People want to see the human side of things. Tell them about how you've helped people with your products and services. Tell them about a story about yourself. Keep posting, and also do live videos so that people have direct interaction with you in real time. That always benefits people because they start to see the people behind the brand. So now it's your turn. Think about what kind of content appeals to your target audience, what message you want to communicate, and what your visual look and feel is going to be. So use everything that you've learned today to start putting pen to paper and write out what your personal brand is, how you want to show up, and start to build content that looks at that. Okay, so doesn't look like we have any final questions. Sarah has been amazing today, answering so many questions in the chat and keeping you all busy. And thank you all for being so engaged and, responding to the activities and asking questions as well. So let's look at what your next steps are. Again, we know these are quite content heavy, so there's lots to take away. Just think about the next thing that you can do. And if you work for a small business or charity in the UK, just book a mentoring session. That's the best thing for you to do because it allows you to work with us for an hour and we can help you figure out what your next steps are. So sign up for mentoring at g.co/UK mentoring, book a session with a digital garage coach, and we'll help you through whatever it is that you are currently thinking about and get that soundboard and also additional resources as well. Now, for us, we also want to make sure that we're doing the best that we can. So if you do have any feedback, please go to goo.gle/digital garage feedback and let us know how you found today's session. Thank you so much for your attendance today. Thank you for your engagement. And remember that we're running a lot of webinars at the moment that range between 15-minute bite size all the way to 1 hour in depth like we've done today. So please do go to our website and get some more, book yourselves on some other ones. Note that if you can't see all of them, don't worry too much. They are refreshed on a regular basis, so you can always come back and book another session. So all the best with everything that you're doing, and we wish you luck in building your personal brand online. Thanks again. Take care, and we'll see you soon. Goodbye.